Ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's how it all went down. They impeached me on that. We were in the Oval Office. I was empowering my intern. And we were talking about SALT treaties, and I needed a prop. And I said, this is what a Russian ICBM looks like. And lo and behold, there was no papier-mâché representation of an ICBM, so I used what God gave me. And the Republicans and oh my goodness, the right, what they did was take that and run with it, and they impeached me. And I said, what is not having relations. Do you not speak English? Is not, is you. And so again, they had a grammar problem. And I was the first person to actually bring in female interns to speak about foreign policy and national security issues. And for that, I want to tell you something. No good deed goes unpunished. And there's no good deed that goes unpunished. It was about an ICBM talk that we had in the Oval Office. I used an anatomical prop, and then all you know what broke loose. And they went after me. And now I have a chance to continue my empowerment by joining the Vice President, Kamala Harris. It's right here. And I'm just so glad that this is a Washington Times article, Harris defies critics, joins Bill Clinton for empowering women event. And if you look at Wikipedia, a noted right-wing website, they've had an allegations page that has at least 6 or 7 women that have, wrongfully accused me, although I settled out of court numerous times. But I just want to let everybody know that if there's anyone who's empowered females throughout the country, and I've been empowering people for a long time, don't tell Madam Secretary, it's been me. And I reject, and I am just flabbergasted that anyone would assume I had negative intentions. What is. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if I had my Bill Clinton tonight, but I tried my best. Ladies and gentlemen, you might as well have Jeffrey Dahmer win Iron Chef, or the Manson family win like a Better Homes and Garden Award, or something like that, because Bill Clinton is the last person. See, in the warped minds of morally superior, apoplectic, beautiful, wonderful liberals, everything is relative. Bill Clinton is much better than Donald Trump. Donald Trump, on a hot mic, did everything that Bill did in 30 years of misconduct in one hot mic. So they look at, so I'll just read you this really quickly. In the overt hypocrisy, the disingenuous, hypocritical, dishonest nature of all of this, the in-your-face, they're so blatant with their hypocrisy. In a way, they think that, we're just going to engage in the most ludicrous act, having Bill Clinton in this type of event. They think that it'll actually show that he's deserving in some bizarre way. That's the way they think. Anything compared to Trump, in their minds, is warranted and justified. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. If you want to read my writing in The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, the Federalist, the Daily Caller, other publications, the Roanoke Times, go to hagoodman.com. You can see my debates to my new Patreons. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Harris defies critics, joins Bill Clinton for empowering women event. This is by Valerie Richardson, March 26th. Okay, so it's March 27th right now, but it was later in the evening, I believe, this article was published. Vice President Harris engaged
in a friendly talk on empowering women, with former President Bill Clinton refusing to bow to the outcry over her decision to appear with a man accused of misconduct despite her. Okay, so Ms. Harris made it clear she had no qualms about taking part in a one-on-one virtual discussion with Mr. Clinton, which was hosted by the Clinton Global Initiative. First of all, Mr. President. Oh, she didn't say Mr. Former President. It is a true honor to join you, and to the young leaders, I send you greetings. I bring you greetings. I know you have many students, Howard students, but I know we have young leaders from around the world here. She added, it's an honor to be with the president at his invitation and with all of you. So here are the facts. Trump has a much better record with women than Bill Clinton. That's not even up for debate. He wasn't impeached on anything to do in an Oval Office with a blue dress and with bodily fluids. We can get into it. Oh my goodness, you want to get into the weeds? What about Trump and saying that he grabs him? Yeah, you know who was actually accused of that in a police report? Our beloved President Biden. But see, again, you have to understand the way wonderful Democrats, morally superior, they're so morally superior. If you tell them this, they literally will not hear it. It won't, not only will they not hear it, they'll pretend like, it's like actually when you engage in a rebuttal, it's almost as if they stop, like the sound, there's no sound that comes out of your mouth. And it's just like, instead of saying, if you're going to, they say, well, Trump, and he said, grab him, and he said, and he had the hot mic, and you like that, and you're like, well, wait a second. Biden had a police report with Tara Reid. Miss Reid filed a police report for accusing him of exactly that in a police report. What they hear is, they don't hear what you said. You understand? Their lives revolve around Clintonian moral relativism, where, politics, whenever they get caught with their pants down, whether it's Eric Schneiderman, the Attorney General of New York, Anthony Weiner, Bill Clinton, the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. There's a whole bunch recently there. The Lincoln Project people, or one person in particular, I should say, and perhaps, maybe, allegedly, others knew. What else? Who else? Oh, Al Franken. And then they say, like, one of the ladies from The View says, well, Al Franken, he actually resigned, so that means he's good. He's a good person. It's like, no, he resigned because there was a photo of him doing something disrespectful. And so you have like this history of duplicity, hypocrisy. You can look at it like with the pandemic. They presided over the worst outcomes, according to the New York Times. The highest per capita rates, the worst outcomes, the greatest amount of lives lost. And yet they still pontificate. It's like, why should anyone listen to you? You've presided over the worst outcomes. 1 out of 5 people who lost their lives are either in New York or California. And you say, well, those are the 2 most populous states. Well, yeah. They're populous, but also New York has the highest, has always had either 1 or 2 highest in terms of per capita rates. Okay, that's not Trump's fault. Sending infected people into old age homes is not Trump's fault. So you have this kind of, like, it's pretty unbelievable, and it's not sustainable. Because what happens is Democrats don't run on anything like positive, that no one really believes the world's going to end because of climate change. They say that they do, but they don't. They implement these incremental changes in terms of legislation. That isn't going to save the planet. Is it a serious issue? Yes. But you look at this, it's like they don't have a policy or a topic that really gets people energized. Climate change, for example, they're not going to engage in a Green New Deal legislation. They're not going to pass Medicare for all legislation. They're not even going to vote on it. They're not going to universal basic income, anything that the far left or the progressives want, or people that are the most passionate, that vote Democrat all the time. Democrats don't win because of policies. They have every single possible conceivable advantage. They have Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, Trevor Noah, John Oliver, James Corden, Saturday Night Live, The Washington Post, The New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Time Magazine, The Atlantic, The New Yorker, New York Magazine, Mother Jones, The Nation. I mean, they're all saying the same thing. An intelligence operative says that Trump worked with Russia because of a high to moderate confidence assessment and because of a dossier that Clinton purchased in the DNC and because of a third-party tech firm outsourced by the Democratic Party. Every publication, every Hollywood celebrity I just named is going to repeat the same thing. If it's John Ratcliffe, Trump's intel chief, don't believe him. The duplicity, it's not a matter of an appeal to authority with them, because that's usually their arguments. Well, the experts say it's their experts. Whenever they hear an expert they don't agree with, oh my God, he's a horrible person, oh, he's a quack, oh my God, don't listen. And so it's, whenever there's an atrocity, you see, we need to curb the Second Amendment. Well, there are cities where they have the strictest laws pertaining to the Second Amendment, and the homicide rates are through the roof. How do you explain that? They don't address the shortcomings or they don't address the holes in their argument, the lack of logic, the lack of rational thought. It's all emotion. And they live in a world that is they're on the side of morality, good versus evil. They're on the side of good. And they don't realize that history will not judge. History doesn't look back and say, all the top intelligence officials and all the top Hollywood directors and producers were on the right side of something. They don't usually, you could look back, the top Hollywood directors and producers generally, and the top intelligence officials weren't generally on the right side of history. You can look back, and there's a lot to be said about Hollywood and the way these people dealt with one another and the things that they did just to make money. And just to, in terms of the intelligence operatives, the Bay of Pigs, Gulf of Tonkin, WMD, tell me when they've been right about a major foreign policy endeavor or era in U.S. history. So you're talking about a political side that has to be propped up by every possible conceivable advantage. All of journalism, all of political journalism, all of Hollywood, the entire entertainment industry, music, movies. Imagine a day, and it's coming. It'll eventually be here because the generation, the kids in their 20s now, or turning 20, they're a lot more conservative. There are articles talking about kids who are in their early 20s are a lot more conservative than adults in their early 30s. Okay? Twitter, by the way, every social media algorithm is geared towards the Democratic Party. This is a fleeting moment in U.S. history where if you don't vote Democrat, you're some kind of horrible person. Where lifelong friends have the audacity, or they feel they have the moral authority to just break friendships because of the belief that Bill Clinton is better on a certain topic, especially pertaining to women, than Trump. Okay? Trump doesn't have Bill Clinton's history. Bill Clinton has a much worse. They say, 26 people have accused. Yeah, but how many settlements? How many police reports? Okay, you have one police report against Biden, settlements that that Clinton had to deal with, and we've known about Clinton's misconduct for decades and decades. So, give me your thoughts below. It's kind of interesting. It's like when Hollywood celebrities talk about how horrible the Second Amendment is, and then they have a security detail. They're just hypocrites. They're just pure hypocrites. And they rely on apathy, complacency. They think that because Jimmy Kimmel, do you think that Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon will be seen in the same light years from now as Johnny Carson or Arsenio Hall? There's nobody, or, you could look at Jack Parr, you could look at, you can look at the history of show business or late night, and you think that Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon are going to be viewed in the same light as Johnny Carson? No, they're not. They're not. Even Jay Leno will be viewed he was a lot more entertaining. Now you turn on Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon, and it's like, or James Corden or any of them. It's all this preaching that is one-sided, that if you just had somebody to offer a rebuttal, they'd have nothing to say. Because they're not if you give them a rebuttal to any of their preaching and pontificating, it won't be in the script, the monologue. So you have, in this generation, this day and age, you couldn't have anyone from Mel Brooks to Don Rickles to Howard Stern. And Howard Stern's like a completely different person now. He couldn't get started. He would have been canceled a long time ago. Years back, if he got started 5 years ago. You couldn't have George Carlin. You couldn't have a whole bunch of comedians. You couldn't have, if you can't have Mel Brooks and Don Rickles and George Carlin and Howard Stern, and you couldn't have, you probably, looking back, you probably couldn't have early Eddie Murphy. Okay, I remember the whole thing with Bill Cosby, and he called Eddie Murphy, and oh my God, it was offensive, it was funny. Anyway, you couldn't have all of these. This world, this Twitter-imposed lunacy, this cyber reality that is trying to make waves in actual reality is not. You can pontificate and judge and condemn all you want. You can have Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon tell people, or spread or communicate only the Democratic Party viewpoint on things. It's still not going to work. You're still going to get 75 million Americans to vote for President Trump. And that's with if you didn't have every single possible advantage, there would be no Democratic Party. If you didn't have every single possible advantage on social media, you wouldn't, and Hollywood media and on late night, you wouldn't have, what would the Democratic Party run on? Because Trump, one of my wonderful subscribers said, I used to listen to you and now you become a Trump supporter. How does that make sense? You went from Bernie to Trump. Yeah, because I want Americans home. There's a lot of things. I don't want the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I wanted NAFTA to be renegotiated. These are things that Bernie was talking about. But see, again, the populist message on the left is very similar to the populist message among conservatives, especially in terms of foreign policy. But on the left, it's there needs to be an orderly withdrawal. So even Bernie Sanders is against removing Americans from a 20-year, never-ending counterinsurgency conflict. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. The fact that Bill Clinton is a part of this says everything you need to know about the Democratic Party. Give me your thoughts. Thank you.